Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep on a creature that I think has, well, it's really captured our imaginations for centuries. The horse.
Absolutely.
You know, they're these symbols of power, freedom, grace.
Mm.
But I think there's a lot more to them than meets the eye.
Oh, definitely.
Especially, for you listening, who I know is really into zoology and natural sciences,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to explore the incredible adaptations that the horses have developed to survive.
Yeah.
And not just survive, but really thrive
Yeah.
across all kinds of different landscapes.
Exactly.
And just give you a taste of how surprising this journey is going to be. Did you know that the modern horse we all know actually originated right here in North America?
It's true.
And then it vanished for thousands of years.
Crazy, right?
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So today's mission, we're going to uncover that evolutionary journey.
We are.
We're going to look at their unique relationship with us humans.
Yeah.
And really delve into the kind of complex situation of wild horses today.
Absolutely. That's a great place to start, actually, because, we often think of these wild horses roaming the American West. Yeah, it's iconic imagery, but their very presence there is kind of a paradox.
Yeah.
It sparks a debate. Are they truly wild, or are they a problem that needs to be managed?
That's interesting. And it's something that, the U.S. Bureau of Land Management has grappled with. I know they even tried paying people to adopt wild horses.
They did. It was an incentive program. The goal was to reduce the horse's impact on the environment, concerns about overgrazing and all that.
Right, makes sense.
But they didn't exactly go as planned. There were some unintended consequences.
Oh.
Sadly, many of those adopted horses ended up in slaughterhouses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation. And it highlights the complex ethical and logistical challenges that come with managing any wild animal population.
Yeah, absolutely. It also raises this bigger question in my mind, which is, are these horses even truly wild? I mean, I've heard arguments that they're actually invasive,
Right.
Since they were reintroduced by Europeans.
That's a common misconception. It's true that horses were absent from the Americas for a time, but their story goes back much further than that, way further. We're talking millions of years. The fossil evidence shows us that horses actually evolved in North America.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they have very deep roots on this continent.
So they're not invaders. They're more like returning natives.
You could say that. It's really quite fascinating.
It is. So I'm picturing a horse very different from the ones we see today, though. What did those earliest ancestors look like? I mean, were they like giant?
Well, not quite giant. Actually, picture this. A horse the size of a dog.
Whoa, really?
With multiple toes instead of hooves.
But
This was Hyracotherium, the ancestor of all modern horses.
that's amazing.
Around 56 million years ago, these little guys were living in forests, munching on soft leaves and fruits. A very different environment than, say, the wide open plains we associate with horses today.
That's incredible. So how did they go from, dog-sized forest dwellers
Right.
to the powerful horses that we know?
It's a story of adaptation, really. Over millions of years, the environment went through some huge changes.
Okay.
Those dense forests gradually gave way to vast grasslands, and, horses had to adapt to survive.
That makes sense. So what kind of adaptations did they develop?
Well, their teeth, for one thing, had to change.
Good.
They needed teeth that were much better suited for grinding tough grasses. It was a whole different diet.
Right, I can see that. And what about their legs? I mean, those single hooves are so iconic. Did those help them survive in the grasslands?
Absolutely. Those hooves, which evolved from multiple toes, are really a marvel of evolution.
Yeah.
They give horses incredible speed and agility, and out on the open plains, that's essential.
Makes sense, yeah. For escaping predators.
Exactly. But also for covering vast distances, to find food and water.
So it was a race for survival, and speed was the key.
You could definitely say that. Imagine these early horses trying to outrun, say, a saber-toothed cat across those wide open plains.
Yeah.
The pressure to escape danger, it was a powerful force in their evolution. It shaped their bodies, their behaviors over generations.
Wow. It's amazing that we can actually trace these changes, through fossils.
It is.
The horse really is like a living testament to evolution.
Exactly. And it's not just about their own evolution either. Their story is also intertwined with ours.
Oh, right. Because from the moment humans encountered horses, I mean, it seems like a really unique bond began to form.
Absolutely. And that bond takes us to the next chapter in their story.
Yeah, because the relationship between humans and horses, it's unlike anything else, wouldn't you say?
It really is. I mean, think about it. Horses have been a source of food for us. They've revolutionized warfare, transportation. They've shaped human history and culture profoundly.
It's true. It's hard to imagine, like, ancient civilizations without horses.
Oh,
And, they played such a huge role in warfare, especially when chariots came into the picture.
Oh, absolutely. Chariots were a game changer. They brought speed, mobility, even a psychological advantage, on the battlefield.
Right.
And they gave a clear advantage to those who had them.
And then later, saddles and stirrups came along.
Mm,
And that made horses even more formidable in warfare.
absolutely. Think of the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan. They were masters of horseback warfare, and that allowed them to conquer vast territories,
Right.
to build one of the largest empires in history. Horses were integral to their success.
So what was it about horses specifically that made them so suited to this role? I mean, there were other animals around, but none had the same impact.
It's a combination of things. Of course, their physical strength, their speed, those are obvious advantages, but their trainability, that's what really sets them apart. You see, their natural instinct is to flee danger, but they can be trained to follow directions even in the middle of battle.
Wow. It's really a remarkable level of trust and understanding between horse and rider.
Exactly. Horses are incredibly sensitive animals,
Yeah.
and they can respond to even the subtlest cues from their rider.
So it's like a communication.
It is a level of communication and coordination that you just don't see with other animals.
So those physical capabilities,
Hmm.
combined with this deep connection with humans, I mean, it made them essential partners for us for centuries.
They really were. Our companions in exploration, in agriculture, and transportation, it's undeniable how much they've impacted the world.
But as we move into the modern era, that role is changing, isn't it?
Inevitably.
Yeah.
Technology has meant that we don't rely on horses as much for work and transportation. But this shift also gives us a chance to reflect on our relationship with them
Okay.
and to think about how to ensure their well-being.
So it leads us back to that question from earlier. How do we treat horses ethically in a world where, their traditional roles are diminishing?
It's a vital question, and unfortunately, we've seen some unsettling examples. Like, there's a festival in Japan called Umanobori Shinji, and in this festival, horses are forced to climb this steep slope. It often results in injuries.
Oh, wow, that's disturbing.
It is, and it really highlights how important it is to rethink how we interact with horses.
Right, to reassess.
Yeah, in a modern context, we need to remember what they've done for us. They deserve respect, but their well-being should be paramount.
Absolutely. And even that question of what it means to be wild for a horse, I mean, it's more complicated than it seems, right?
Yes.
Especially when you think about their long history of domestication.
You're right. And in fact, it was recently discovered that even the Przewalski's horse, which was once thought to be the last truly wild horse, it's actually descended from domesticated horses.
Wow.
So even that definition of wild is kind of blurred.
Yeah, it's really challenging our understanding of wild horse populations. So it's incredible to think about, they started as these tiny forest dwellers, and then they became these powerful steeds that helped build empires.
Yeah,
The horse's story is full of these surprising twists and turns.
it really is. And there's still so much more to explore.
Well, let's keep digging then.
I'm ready.
There's a lot more to learn about these incredible creatures.
And it's amazing, how even as we depend on them less for, practical stuff, we seem to, we're more aware of them as like sentient beings.
Yeah.
And that need for ethical treatment.
Right. It's like a shift in our thinking.
It is.
So you mentioned earlier that their legs are just incredibly adapted for speed and agility on, like, open terrain.
Yeah.
But what other physical traits help them survive, over the millennia?
Well, their legs are definitely remarkable. But let's talk about their senses.
Okay.
For example, their eyesight is amazing. Their eyes are on the sides of their heads,
Oh, all right.
which gives them this really wide field of vision. And that's super important, especially in open grasslands.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Being able to spot a predator from far away, it can
Yeah.
be life or death.
So they're constantly scanning the horizon.
Oh, yeah, constantly looking for danger. And their hearing is just as good. They can swivel their ears independently,
Oh, wow.
which allows them to pinpoint sounds
So they can really zero in on what they're hearing.
with amazing accuracy. Just imagine, being able to focus on one specific sound, but still be aware of everything else going on around you.
That's incredible.
It's like having built-in radar.
Totally.
Yeah.
What about their sense of smell? Because I imagine that's got to be important for finding food and water, especially in those huge open landscapes.
Oh, absolutely. Their sense of smell is super developed. So they use it to locate food, of course, but also to identify other horses
Okay.
and even to sense danger from a distance. Think of it like a really complex chemical map of their surroundings.
That's fascinating. So we've talked about legs, senses. What about their teeth?
Ah,
Because
yeah.
you were saying earlier how they evolved to handle a diet of tough grasses.
Yeah.
How did that actually happen?
Well, horses have what are called hypsodont teeth,
Okay.
which basically means that they have a really long crown that extends above the gum line.
So there's more tooth there to wear down.
Exactly. It allows for a lot of wear and tear,
Yeah.
which is really important when you're constantly grinding down all that abrasive grass. Their teeth are built for some serious chewing.
They're like little machines.
They are, and there's more. They also have this unique pattern of ridges and folds on their teeth,
Uh-huh.
which helps them grind food even more effectively. It's like a natural mill
Wow.
designed to handle those tough plant fibers.
So each of these adaptations, the legs, the senses, the teeth, I mean, they all work together to help them thrive, in those difficult environments.
Exactly.
And it's kind of amazing how interconnected all these traits are.
It is. It really highlights the power of natural selection.
Yeah.
How over millions of years, even the smallest advantages can lead to incredible diversity and resilience in nature.
And for horses, that resilience allowed them to not only survive, but to really form this unique partnership with humans.
It did. It's a partnership that has profoundly shaped both our history and their evolutionary journey.
It's true.
We've influenced each other in ways that we're only just beginning to understand.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, too, how as we rely on them less for those, the practical reasons, we've also become more sensitive to their, their sentience and that need for ethical treatment. Kind of ironic.
Yeah. It is a complex issue, but I think it speaks to our evolving understanding of, our place in the natural world.
Right.
As we learn more about other species, how intelligent they are, how sensitive, it makes us reconsider our responsibilities to them.
And for the horse, this new chapter raises, some pretty challenging questions. What does the future hold for them in a world where those traditional roles are changing?
It's the big question, isn't it? Will they continue to be our partners, in things like sport and recreation?
Right.
Or will they find a new path, maybe even back to a truly wild existence?
And I guess in a way, their future depends on us, right?
It does.
On how we choose to navigate that relationship. So what are some of the key things to consider as we move forward?
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. I mean, it feels like we've been on this incredible journey tracing their story from those tiny little forest dwellers all the way to, helping build empires
Right.
and everything in between. And now it's like we're at this crossroads.
We are. The horse has adapted to so much change over millions of years.
Yeah.
And the question is, how will they adapt to this new world? This one where, our relationship with them is changing again.
And we've talked about those ethical concerns, right?
Like those events like that Japanese festival.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it shows how important it is to really have a deeper understanding of their welfare.
Absolutely. As we move forward, we have to remember, that a horse is a being with feelings,
Right.
not just a symbol or a tool for us to use. Their well-being has to come first.
And that kind of ties back into, the debate about those wild horse populations.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to manage those populations is a huge challenge, especially when we're not even sure if they're really wild.
It's true. It's so complex, and there are no easy answers. But I think remembering their history, their evolution on this continent, it can help us figure out how to manage them better,
Okay.
in a way that's more respectful.
So considering their well-being, respecting their history, and, really understanding what it means for them to be wild,
Right.
it feels like those are the most important things.
I think so. And beyond all that, we have to remember the impact they've had. I mean, horses have changed human culture.
Oh, absolutely.
They've changed history. They've carried us into battle. They've helped us grow food. They've inspired art.
Right.
I mean, they're everywhere in stories and songs, in art.
It's a powerful legacy.
Yeah.
And one that we need to honor, even as, their role in our lives keeps evolving.
I agree. The horse's story is our story, too. They're woven together. And as we think about the future, we have to make sure that it's a future where horses can thrive. whether that's as our partners in sports or maybe even finding a new path back to the wild.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive into the world of horses. We've covered so much: their evolution, how unique their bond is with us, the challenges they face in our world today.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
And their story isn't over yet. It's a story of adaptation, of resilience, and of that enduring connection between humans and animals.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the horse. We hope you've learned something new, and maybe even gained a deeper appreciation for these incredible creatures. Until next time, happy trails, everyone.